We should be outraged that someone's talking to a 3-year-old about changing their sex.
Our politicians have devolved from arguing policy to having Twitter arguments in Congress. Biden's pick for Assistant Health Secretary thinks kids as young as 3 years old should be able to medically transition. That means hormone blockers and genital amputation. Hasbro's making its toys gender neutral, and Amazon decided to start banning books it doesn't agree with. Progress. The House of Representatives is expected to pass the Equality Act, which is supposed to end discrimination against LGBTQ Americans. However, in my opinion, what the Equality Act will do is discriminate against biological women. Illinois Representative Mary Newman, wow, that's 2 videos in a row talking about Illinois politicians. That's not good. She has a trans daughter, so she decided to put a trans flag in front of Representative Marjorie Taylor Greene's office. Here's a little video of that. Wow, you go, Slay Greene! Anyway, Marjorie Taylor Greene's response was to post this. Here's a little picture, but let's analyze it for a second, because to me, it just looks like 2 intellectually deficient Karens having a middle school argument in Congress. Our political class has devolved into a class of shameful idiots. Now, of course, this is the type of thing CNN likes to cover. You know, the most trusted name in news. CNN fake news. So they printed out an article saying that the post that Marjorie Taylor Greene put up was anti-trans. And I had to say, I disagree. Well, I'm all for trans rights. I really couldn't care less. We gotta acknowledge reality. There are 2 genders, men and women. And that's it. Sorry. While most of our politicians are shameful fools, some of them are worth looking up to. One of those is Rand Paul. Biden's pick for Assistant Health Secretary, Rachel Levine, is being grilled, and rightly so, in her confirmation hearings. Here's a little taste of Rand Paul's logic versus Levine's desire to trans your kids. Take a look.
It was about minors. Let's be a little more specific since you evaded the question. Do you support the government intervening to override the parent's consent to give a child puberty blockers, cross-sex hormones, and/or amputation surgery of breasts and genitalia? You have said that you're willing to accelerate the protocols for street kids. I'm alarmed that poor kids with no parents who are homeless and distraught, you would just go through this and allow that to happen to a minor. I would hope that you would have compassion for Kira Bell, who's a 23-year-old girl who was confused with her identity. At 14, she read on the internet about something about transsexual. She thought, well, maybe that's what I am. She ended up getting these puberty blockers, cross-sex hormones. She had her breasts amputated. But here's what ultimately she says now. And this is a very insightful decision from someone who made a mistake but was led to believe this was a good thing by the medical community. I made a brash decision as a teenager, as a lot of teenagers do, trying to find confidence and happiness, except now the rest of my life will be negatively affected, she said, adding that the medicalized gender transitioning was a very temporary, superficial fix for a very complex identity issue. What I'm alarmed at is that you're not willing to say absolutely minors shouldn't be making decisions to amputate their breast or to amputate their genitalia. For most of our history, we believe that minors don't have full rights and the parents need to be involved. So I'm alarmed that you won't say with certainty that minors should not have the ability to make the decision to take hormones that will affect them for the rest of their life. Will you make a more firm decision on whether or not minors should be involved in these decisions?
Senator, transgender medicine is a very complex and nuanced field, and if confirmed to the position of Assistant Secretary of Health, I would certainly be pleased to come to your office and talk with you and your staff.
Let it go into the record that the witness refused to answer the question. The question is a very specific one. Should minors be making these momentous decisions? For most of the history of medicine, we wouldn't let you have a cut sewn up in the ER, but you're willing to let a minor take things that prevent their puberty, and you think they get that back? You give a woman testosterone enough that she grows a beard, you think she's going to go back looking like a woman when you stop the testosterone? You have permanently changed them. Infertility is another problem. None of these drugs have been approved for this. They're all being used off-label. I find it ironic that the left that went nuts over hydroxychloroquine being used possibly for COVID are not alarmed that these hormones are being used off-label. There's no long-term studies. We don't know what happens to them. We do know that there are dozens and dozens of people who've been through this who regret that this happened and a permanent change happened to them. And, if you've ever been around children, 14-year-olds can't make this decision. In the gender dysphoria clinic in England, 10% of the kids are between the ages of 3 and 10. We should be outraged that someone's talking to a 3-year-old about changing their sex. I can't vote for you if you can't make a decision. Thank you so much, Senator.
Isn't it frightening how she won't give a straight answer? Just say, no, we won't allow little kids to transition. And that's it. Or am I the crazy one? Comment your opinions down below. And now, for another related matter, which may seem silly, but it's actually quite serious, Hasbro is removing Mr. Potato Head's title. That's right. It's now going to be gender neutral. Its name, just Potato Head. No Mr. Now, the question I have is, how are we going to differentiate him from his wife? They're both potato heads now? No Mr., no Mrs., just potatoes? Just potatoes? And now, for what is probably the most important story of the day, Amazon is banning books. So not only did they destroy their competition, you don't see any more bookstores around, you don't see any more mom and pop bookstores, even Barnes & Noble is having a hard time. Now that they corner the market, they can control what you can and cannot read. For example, this week, Amazon banned scholar Ryan Anderson's book on transgenderism. The book, When Harry Became Sally, Responding to the Transgender Moment. It's a very compassionately written book. It talks about gender dysmorphia and compassionately and kindly helping those who have it. Banned! And if that doesn't frighten you, I don't know what will. I think we've gotten to the point where some companies are just more powerful and richer than many, if not most, governments. And it shouldn't be like that. Not that I want government to have a lot of power, but definitely more power than Amazon or Twitter or Facebook or YouTube. But, can't talk bad about the YouTubes. That's it for today. Thank you for watching. Like, subscribe, comment. It helps. Share. See you next time.